Andrea, how do you feel about the blending of architecture and software engineering? Do you think at some point our industry will merge with the software industry?
I don't think it will merge, but I think it's very much needed that as architects, we engage more with the software industry. So the reality is that right now, as architects and designers, we are mostly working with softwares that were not made for us. So we're working with softwares that were made for something else and then just been repurposed for architecture. And so I really believe that as architects, we should really take the responsibility of engaging much more with the software industry. And what's funny is that if you look at the history of the relationship between architecture and software, in the very early stages, architects were driving software industry in a sense. So if you look at figures like Christopher Alexander or Richard Saul Wurman and so on, you can really see that they were architects that pushed the software industry to a new level. And what's very interesting is that they're much more recognized in the software industry than in architecture. So if you talk about Christopher Alexander, a lot of people will have problem with him when you talk about architecture. But if you talk about Alexander and the whole idea of pattern languages in computer science, it's an acknowledged way of working. And it was a revolutionary approach to how to do programming. So I think we have to go back to that approach where as architects, we push the software industry in a direction that we think it's relevant for us, rather than always being fed with tools that don't really work for what we want to do.
I very much agree with what you're saying, but I think it's even more so like this kind of proactive approach from architects should be happening even more so with all the robotization that is inevitably also going to happen. And as for example in 3D printing, like knowing the tool well, like being able to even come up with design suggestions based on the tool, like any sort of craftsmanship is important, because I imagine these huge 3D printers or like robots or I'm not sure how they would look, but if the architect is controlling them in a way, then this becomes also part of your design. So it's intentional, like everything will be intentional, which eventually will hopefully lead to better design decisions.
Yeah, definitely. And also I think the more we engage and the more we can create things which are much more integrated with architecture. I think a fantastic example